Hey everyone, my name's Brian, that's my brother Adam, and we are the Factional Fight Brothers. Welcome back to our show, and we are back in the Labyrinth this week. Last week we were building up this pottery barracks building, and you can see we're finished. Looks, I think it turned out really nice. I don't know, what do you think, Adam?
Yeah, I really like it. It's like quaint, small, but has a lot of character.
I feel like I was supposed to put a different floor, like the floor plan had a different floor on the bottom here, and then at the time that I was building it, all I had was more pottery bricks. So I just did it, and I said, I'm not going to destroy it. It looks good. So
It looks really good.
so I left it in, and yeah, it turned out really nice. We just have to decorate it, which is going to be a common theme throughout this labyrinth of decorating. That's not our strong suits, really. But you know what? We've done a lot of work other than this building in the labyrinth, so we're very happy, excited to show you guys what we've been doing. And this week, we're going to be talking a lot about how to build your dream castle. And while we talk about that, we will be building our castle. So stay tuned. All right, everyone, thanks for joining us. This building didn't take us too much longer after the bonus video. I think we might have had to build some floors or some stairs or something, but yeah, it turned out really nice. We finished all the sections that we wanted to. I think we're gonna leave these ladders in. Can't remember.
My question is, how does this building fit into the puzzle of the rest of the labyrinth?
Or is not knowing is the puzzle of the labyrinth. I don't know. You'll have to find out. You'll have to come and you'll have to see how exactly it fits in. I know. I haven't told Adam exactly how this place works yet. He's just the guy helping build it. So what did we do? We kind of went full on construction since the last video, and you know what? I can't even remember what was around last video, but it wasn't much. We made a lot of the bridges. So we showed you guys the plans before, and it had a ton of bridges. We made nothing before, and now
There was maybe a couple bridges before, but yeah,
this bridge, this building right here I made, along with the bridge that attaches onto this building, which I'm not sure if it was made or not. Up here, you can see I did not build the thatch roofs up there because I still don't have 30 thatch to build those roofs up there. Still working on that. This building, which is actually a very, very long building, I can't remember if that was finished, but I completely finished this building here. And it starts over there, and it wraps itself around all the way around. I'll give you an idea. Ooh, we're gonna have to figure out what to do to stop this place from becoming overgrown.
We might have to pack or turn it into lawns.
It's old already. That's how long it's been here.
We can cut lawns. I have a feeling that lawns prevent trees from growing. Although I could be wrong about that. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I think lawns do that. I'm not sure if I wanted to put just like a path this way. I'm not sure. We'll have to pick these up later.
Yep.
Maybe we'll need those logs. I'm sure we'll need those logs for something.
Oh yeah.
I did the floors. You can see sort of how it will look. I don't know. Once it's completely designed and we have furniture in here, all of this stuff the furniture will be part of the labyrinth in the sense that it'll be giving a specific amount of clues to like what you should be doing. I'm still designing the story, but it's shaping up pretty good. Like the only thing that I really don't know is how many clues should we give, and based on how lost people will get, and that will only come once we finish and people start coming through as a test. And if they get stuck at a specific area, I'll be able to put some more clues based on the story that we've made. So this is like the front of the castle right here, which I made. Let's go to the front here. And we're supposed to have 2 bridges, still not completed, but finish the buildings. We'll have the 2 bridges that go across leading up to the castle, which we actually started the right half of the castle. So we split the castle into 2 parts, and we will be combining them with many bridges to go across. What were we going to do with all of these large crates that'll still just be sitting there after we finish?
There's a ton. This was our storage area, because it was like we knew that this would be the last place that we were going to do any construction. So we put all of our crates back here, and then the castle goes up, and it's like tons of crates.
We have so many. Look at this. All of this is just dirt. Anybody need a lot of dirt?
Yeah.
We don't need any dirt anymore. A lot of them probably have, a lot less than 300. I don't know.
Right.
Because these were down before the decay stopped happening. We had the 5% decay on all BSBs and crates and stuff.
Right.
So
and some of them decayed a lot.
What is this stuff? Zinc? We have a lot of zinc. I guess you had to mine zinc out somewhere.
Yeah, there was a ton of veins in the first half of the labyrinth that we had to mine out, and there was at least a couple zinc veins.
Cool. So those are still there.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the building we'll be working on today. I'd want to show you guys what it looks like. You can go back and see the previous video, episode 2, and that will show you what it looked like. But basically, the bottom level was sandstone walls, and then everything above this level will be marble. So I can see you already started a little bit. And
started with what? Oh, the ladders.
Yeah, you started putting the ladders down, and you know what, they changed the way that this worked. Even when we were in Autumn Twilight, before, when we were in Autumn Twilight, you were able to build all of the floors above here without needing to build the outer walls. Or outer floors. So first you have to build one floor that's attached to a wall, and then they will only allow you to build the next floor out. And then the next floor out, and the next floor out.
You were able to build floors that were in the middle of nowhere?
Yes.
Oh.
So you could lay out all of the floors around that you wanted, and then build them when you needed.
I see.
And then once you built the floors, you could build all the walls on the second level. Not finish them, and then build the next level.
I remember people making like insanely crazy buildings from that. They were like floating floors and things.
Well, the thing about that I liked was then you could basically build your skeleton of your entire house without building it. Have it laid out, and then start finishing it.
I see.
That's how I used to do it. But now, you have to build it floor by floor.
Right.
So you have to start at the bottom floor and then build upwards instead of kind of putting out your stencil ahead of time. All right, so let's do these floors. So I don't know. What do you think about that change?
I mean, I know that there was a reason for the change. There was they didn't want unrealistic houses to be made.
Could they have allowed us to continue the stencil without getting rid of that ability? For example, I think the problem was that you could build your stencil, and then on lower levels you could get rid of the walls that you put down, in unfinished walls, and that would make it so the building looked like it was floating.
I see.
Well, how about if they just stopped making it so you couldn't remove those? There was like a check.
I mean, I guess if they made it so that you're allowed to put up the plans, but you wouldn't be able to
remove the plans.
Or you wouldn't be able to finish those plans until, like the order in which you finish them, it has to be from the walls inwards. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Like they could have done that, but I guess then people would be able to build and construct insane structures out of just unfinished walls and then just leave it like that.
Could you still do that? Like, could we still, in a different way, let's say, build all of the floors
Okay.
and then destroy the outer floors, so
Build
that you
all... I see.
destroy the floors on the outside, so that you had a bunch of floors sitting in the inside?
I think that they prevent that from happening. I don't think you can destroy the walls before the floors that are attached to it.
Because that would just yield the same results as before anyway.
Yeah, I'm
Anyway.
pretty sure they stopped that from happening.
Anyway, I like the idea of building like the frame first, because it almost seemed like that's how they do it in real life anyway, right? You see the frame of
Yeah.
the full house,
Yeah.
and then you kind of finish it up in a
Yeah.
specific way. This is, I guess, harder for, I don't know if it's just me. It's harder in the sense that it's hard to keep track of what's going on every floor all the time. I have to continuously be referencing my deed plan instead of
Right.
kind of, I spend one day referencing my deed plan, building it up to a specific, like, have everything laid out, and then go back and like, I don't need my deed plan anymore. I just finish the walls.
Right. It does help. Like the old way of doing it did help you plan in game how you wanted your house to look.
Yeah.
And I think that Deed Planner wasn't. I can't remember exactly how Deed Planner was back then, but I don't think it was as good as it is now in terms of.
Well, I definitely wasn't as good at it as it is now. It's definitely more intertwined with the game now that Warlander, the guy that created the Deed Planner, works for the Wurm team on a much bigger basis than before, and he integrated the Deed Planner into the game in the sense that you could export your deed right into Deed Planner, which you could never do before, especially during Autumn Twilight era. When we were there. Yeah. So but that brings a lot of questions. A lot of things have changed even since we were building Autumn Twilight, and a lot of things changed from when we were building Autumn Twilight to when we first started the game. This type of building wasn't even possible. Like, we always dreamed of this type of building, which only got introduced after multi-story. So when we first created our first Labyrinth, our castle ended up being just tall stone walls, because at the time, on dirt walls that we built up. We like raised the level of dirt, and then we built the tall stone wall. And the reason why we did that instead of buildings is because the tall stone walls at that time had a different model that made them be really tall, taller than house walls. Now they're almost the same level, because there was a time where they wanted it to be sort of even with the house walls, but before it was like so much taller. It made it look more like a castle, and that's what we had to do to build a castle. And then fast forward to Autumn Twilight, and all of a sudden we have, oh, you're building that one. All of a sudden we have the ability to build multi-story.
Right.
And we were just like, okay, this is amazing. We're finally able to build the castle that we always wanted. We have multi-story going on. We were building up. We're finding the way that it works, like the benefits of it and the shortcomings of it. There was like problems. We built the main castle that we wanted to. I was kind of finding that if you wanted to build such a big castle, you weren't able to do it because the skill only allowed you, like your carpentry skill only allowed you to build a castle this big, and that big wasn't enough to make it feel like a big castle. So we had to build 7 of those in a big area, and then there was no way to combine them because even though bridges were always mentioned, bridges never came while we were there. It didn't come in time. And the same with stairs. I remember playing on the test server. It might have not even been the test server. Might have been the real game. And an item came into the game. This was before multi-story, or just as multi-story was coming into the game, and there was an item called stairs, and I made one and I put it on the ground. It was an actual item. You know how now it's not an item, but they created an item called stairs. I guess they were trying to test on how they were going to implement this into the game. And I dropped it on the ground, and it was just like a bag, right? The like unknown item. We don't have a model for this item yet. And I thought, this is cool. Like, they're introducing stairs into the game. This is before we started Autumn Twilight, by the way. So I thought, okay, I'm building, fast forward like a few months, I'm building Autumn Twilight, and then I'm thinking, okay, stairs are going to come, right? It's already in the game. There's an item called stairs. It's going to come soon. They did an advertisement. They did a news article or something with the stair model at the time.
I remember that.
Which I don't believe that model ever came into the game. And then so I designed Autumn Twilight with stairs in mind.
Okay.
When multi-story came in, we got introduced to these ladders. So I put these ladders as placeholders, and I waited, like, nicely, calmly, you know, like, they're coming, don't worry. Like, we'll just, like, this is the tile will have the stairs, it'll go up this way. And the entire time we're at Autumn Twilight, the, like, year, we didn't get stairs.
Right. Yeah, you had planned the entire thing. We built the entire castle with all these plans for stairs. You left those areas blank.
But now, and think about it, if you don't have stairs, how can you make a castle that looks like the Labyrinth castle? The whole thing is just stairs. Like, go back and watch the movie Labyrinth. The whole castle is just like stairs everywhere.
Right.
So you couldn't do it. So look at this. We got bridges. First we got multi-story, and then we were able to build Autumn Twilight. But now it is so fleshed out. We have stairs. We have bridges, obviously. We have different styles of walls that we never had before.
Right.
So here I am building a marble castle that wasn't possible before.
Right.
Or the
that wasn't
pottery.
possible a few months ago, ago, not even.
So, I don't know, think about all these changes. It's like we're finally able to build this dream castle that we've always wanted to. Oh, looks like we missed one. So let me get some. So what do you think? Do you feel that there's still anything missing for you to build your dream castle?
I'll be honest. I feel like now is the best time to build the castle. I don't know about anything. Like, in terms of the construction of the castle, I don't think there's really anything else that could be added.
So what do you
think? That would, make a big difference. So the only thing that could change that would help castles would be just decoration. That's the one thing. Like, I mean, there is enough stuff to decorate a castle, but more decoration will make the castle look a lot more authentic, for sure. I don't know.
Yeah, but
although, as you said, we're not decorators, so we're really.
Of course, being the guy that's doing the deed plan for this castle, I could say the one thing that is definitely lacking still, and that has always been lacking, let's be honest, is the stairs.
Right.
We now have one style of stairs, and that is a wooden stair that we can use in multiple different variants, but in the end it's still a wooden stair. Where's the stone brick stairs? How do you build a stone castle without stone stairs?
Right.
How does anybody build that medieval style castle? You can't.
Yeah.
So it would be really cool if we had like different tiles, stairs going on. I know now with bridges, even outdoors, we can make like a nice bridge that leads up to the castle, but we can't have that big stairwell that leads up to the castle.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. So are you ready to build this castle?
Yeah, so definitely. Second floor, so we built the bottom level. I believe this level is essentially just all marble
Walls.
marble walls. There
I
are
feel
a
like
few exceptions. So,
okay.
as we know, since you are prone to forgetting what you're doing while we're doing it, I will go around and I'll do those 5 different style of walls, and then you can do
Okay.
the rest and just start walls.
Okay.
So
I'm pretty sure
let me
this
take a
one
look.
here is a wall.
Let me take a look.
The one I'm
Okay,
facing. Yeah, that's the wall.
I'm not sure. Let me before
Too
we do
late.
anything. Oh God. So this one here is a door. Which one are you doing? Okay, yes.
Yeah, that's a wall. So there's like barred doors to the side or whatever.
Actually, you know what happened? This is not right. So let's remove
That's not right.
those.
Those are right.
And we do a second section like this.
I don't think so.
You can check the plan again if you like.
I'll double check the plan, but
Yep.
oh, I see. I'm
Yeah,
looking at the
don't.
wrong floor. All right, good. Good thing that you're watching this.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, so I'm glad marble is the first item on the list here. So let's do one door, I believe. Okay, so let's get started. So about how we build these castles.
Mm-hmm.
How do you want to start with like how do we do this? Like what I do is I definitely do it in D Planner now.
Right.
When we first started, we designed the place on a piece of paper. That's what we did. I remember like walking around with what are those grid pieces of paper.
Yep.
Every square is representing one tile in Wurm. It was fairly straightforward because there was only a 2D sphere in Wurm, a 2D plane in Wurm. Like that's all we had. There was no
Right.
way to build
There's
on
no
top of each other.
multi-story.
So
Right.
we did it. We built it like that.
And I remember we had like one plan for above ground and one plan for below ground.
Yeah.
Right, and that's all you needed because there was no
Multiple pieces of
multi-story.
paper.
Yeah.
And then multi-story came in, and I believe it wasn't too long after. I'm not sure. That D Planner came out with the ability to do that multi-story,
Right.
and we
Right.
built Autumn Twilight in D Planner, and we even showed it off
Right.
in previous videos. Those deeds actually got lost, which sucks. I had a hard drive
Right.
that failed and completely wiped those deeds away. So I don't even know what they looked like other than with the old videos on YouTube.
Right. We do have a video on YouTube where we did film you going through Deed Planner.
Really?
I recall. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe one day I'll go through it and I'll relive some of those plans, but right now they're lost into history.
Right.
But
So
that's how it is right now, right? That's what I would
Right.
do. That's what I did here. Easy enough now. You can just. What I did was I sent out. I went to the token and I created a deed plan
Mhm.
from the game. I put it into Deed Planner, and then I just started from there and started building this place
Right.
up.
Like today's video, we kind of wanted to give our insights into how to build your dream castle because, you know, building a huge castle is a pretty daunting task, especially if you're a relatively new player. And we thought, like, if we could give our insight into the best sort of plan for how to go about building these things, that might be helpful so yeah, definitely. Like as Brian said, deed planner is amazing. But I really feel like, so like I was planning out this episode and I was like thinking about all the different types of things would go into building a castle, and the first thing I thought was, like I broke it down into phases. And the first phase would be the design phase, where you're spending your time thinking about the design of the castle, and the deed plan is definitely a part of that, but there's definitely something that I think that you'd have to do before that. Can you think of what I'm thinking?
Your deed, the materials.
Well, I guess you need a deed.
Like
that's for sure.
Deed, you need a deed,
right? You need a deed,
and that's
Definitely.
one change that happened. That the fact that before deeds, your deed token had to be smack dab in the middle of your place, and now that doesn't need to be that way. I think it gives you a lot more room to design the area that you want, especially if you're next to the water like we were in Autumn Twilight.
Right. It's definitely helpful to have your token, but even so, like, I wish they added a feature to be able to move your token within your deed. You know what I mean? Like, because sometimes, like, you can expand your deed now in any direction, one direction at a time. But sometimes that deed, that token is in the wrong place. Like, just think of our Factional Fight Village. We had to disband the Factional Fight Village and replant it so that the token would move over one tile. We moved it over one tile because it was in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
But anyway, so besides having your deed, of course you want to have a deed, because otherwise your castle that you just built is going to rot away. The next thing that you're going to do is survey the land in the game. Like, that's what I feel like. You can't build a castle. It would
be very hard to survey if you're like it's completely covered in forest and trees,
right?
And, like, the
right, but it's not
all...
only that. It's that you can't plan a castle unless you know what space you have there, right? Like, you want to build the castle so that it sort of like coexists with the terrain that's already there. Like, if there's like a cliff, for example, that's blocking where you want your castle to go, there's a couple options. You can level out the land or whatever and make like a big dirt wall, or you could just adjust the design of your castle so that it goes nicer with the natural land. So I think that the first thing that you should do is clear out the spot that you want your castle to be in, take a look at like the space that you have, and then design a castle to fit that space.
Yeah, you have to make certain that you'll have to make that decision when you uncover the land,
right,
on whether you actually do want to change it to take how much of the castle that you want, especially if you're on a big hill. Like, Wurm is mostly all hills anyway, so
right,
you're always going to have to adjust something or other.
Yeah, and that's part of the fun of it.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's why we love it.
Yeah.
So you're right. Survey your land. But then, what do you do after that?
So there's a couple different things I think that you could do. You could, like, when I was building Factional Fight Village, I first surveyed the land, and then I flattened out the area that I wanted, like that I wanted flat. Like, I did a lot of terraforming before doing the deed planner, and I think I just work better in terms of designing in the game. I don't know how you did with this place. Did you put it all into deed planner and do all the land terraforming in deed planner first, and then come into the game and match your plans?
I did the terraforming first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and yeah. I feel like that's a more natural way of doing things, because you can get a sense for what the land looks like as you're terraforming.
Yeah, and I feel like you make a lot of decisions based on what the land currently looks like. And like, you have an idea in your head. You're like, I want this to be sort of higher than that part of your deed. I want the castle to be, this much higher than, or this much lower than the rest of the deed, or on the same level. You sort of have that idea first, and then you go into the game and you look at what you're dealing with, and you either adjust what you want to do, or you change what you have to accommodate what you're thinking that you want your place to be, and you make those decisions in the game. It would be a lot harder for me to make those decisions in D Planner because it's so much easier to just raise the land.
See, with Linton, I remember I didn't have access to the terraforming, like the actual land. Retrograde sent me the deed plan export of what Linton looked like currently before I started, and I found it so difficult to plan within Deed Planner by terraforming in Deed Planner. I don't know what it was, but I ended up just like starting from a flat deed plan and just planning out stuff that way. And then I found when I got to Linton and I was doing all the terraforming for it, I realized it was like just a nightmare. Like all my plans weren't working with the it just wasn't, I don't know. There was something going on. So I ended up having to redo the plan of Linton once I got a sense of the land after I did a bunch of the terraforming. I think that's the better way of going.
Yeah, me too. So then
once you have that all done, then what do you think the next, like, what did you do here? What was the next step?
Well, after I have the land figured out, that's when I start designing the castle. Let's say I say, this is how big I have based off of my skill. So this is my skill. This is how big of a level. And the thing about Deed Planner, as far as I know, won't take into consideration your skill. Okay. So you have to know what your skill is and how big of a place that you can build. Because when I first laid it down, I made these two buildings one giant building.
Oh, okay.
Like, that's the first thing I did.
So wait, it doesn't even take into account that, like, the maximum skill?
No.
Like, it just allows you to build the largest building you can possibly imagine?
Yes. I think at one point it either did take into consideration. There was a different way to build buildings before, and now it's just kind of open. But so that's what I did. I came back into the game, and after being in school for a while, and we were wanting to build this whole place up again, and I opened up Deed Planner and I just I said, this is the land that I had figured out before for the castle, and I just filled it up with one giant building. And then later I was like counting the walls. I'm like, 1, 2, 3. I'm like, my skill needs to be 200 and something. I'm like, great, I don't think I can do that. But in the future, I remember I had an idea where if you could link skills with somebody else, like where one person has 90, the second person has 90, and now together you can create a building that's, those skills combined.
That would be awesome.
Teamwork.
That would be awesome.
That could be a nice future update. I don't know. Just saying. I don't know. Yeah, I always thought that with the ability, when multi-story came into the game, all of a sudden we have the ability to create these huge buildings that are limited in size based on based on just what our skill level is, and our skill level is just not enough for our vision.
I wonder what the reason that they had in mind for limiting the size of buildings.
My guess is that, 1, this is how it was, and then 2,
right, it was like that before, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is how it was. Like, go up to 100, somebody made that decision, and then now people are like, well, this is how it is on PvP. Let's not change it, because that could alter something in PvP or whatever. There's no more of those like big gaps in between buildings or something. You can.
Right. I know they make donuts. I know they make donuts around their what is it called? Their deed token. Deed? No,
Oh
the D
yeah.
token, right? They put donut buildings around there because, it takes a while to bash down the building. And I guess if you can make it so that you can make buildings that are 3 or 4 times as large as they currently, then it'll just be
Hmm.
3 or 4 times harder to get to the token.
Yeah. So
That's my guess.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Eh,
I feel like if they change it, everyone will just adjust.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah. It'll give everybody something to do.
Hmm.
That's all we can hope for.
Now, while you're designing your castle,
Hmm.
there's a few things that you should be thinking of. Like, for example, um, you should be thinking of interesting ways that you could use bridges. For example, bridges are like so versatile. They like not only do they connect two places with a platform, but you can also use them decoratively. Like, for example, to create an archway over top the entrance of the castle, for example. Um, or another thing that I never really thought of until it sort of happened naturally when you were building your
Hmm.
house on Factional Fight Village. Like, so like the building was designed so that we dug a big hole all the way down to the rock at the bottom, flattened that out, and then we built the house on the bottom.
Yeah.
Built multiple stories all the way up to the ground level, and then we connected it with bridges, right? Like, so that was our
Yeah.
vision. Once we finished that, when we went down to the bottom and was in the little area underneath the bridges and looked up, it looked like these massive vaulted ceilings that were arched, so it kind of gave a cathedral look. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That
And
was really cool.
yeah, and I can only imagine that if you sort of incorporate that idea in sort of a castle feel, you may use these bridges as like ceilings or whatever of outdoor spaces, like little like garden area, and then put these vaulted bridges over top.
Yeah, I
I
wish
think
there was
that
a
would be
way to
so
do
cool.
that inside of buildings. Instead of
Mm,
looking up and just seeing like a flat, like tiled of the same, I don't know, brick or whatever over and over again, make it
yeah.
so we can shape the ceilings in different
Mhm.
ways,
That'd be
especially with
cool.
these vaulted ceilings that we have.
Right.
Let's go
That's
this way.
wishful thinking, I think.
Well, that's what we do.
Yeah.
We think and then we wish. All right.
Another piece of advice I would give to anybody designing a big castle,
Mm.
um, is to design it using lots of small or medium-sized rooms. And the reason is because I found, and this is just from like a bunch of experience of building like large buildings. Um, I've always found that the large rooms, like the very large rooms, like maybe 20 tiles of room, is
Mhm.
very hard to decorate properly to make it feel like it's actually like a room. It almost it'll end up. I've always felt that it ends up feeling empty.
You know what? Another reason is because there's a limit to how far you can see things from inside of a castle.
Right.
So if you're building and there's like the furniture and stuff, and I believe that limit is 10 tiles.
I think it's less than that. I think it's
Is
six
it
tiles.
less?
Yeah, I
So
think it's six
you
tiles.
build this giant room, and then you start walking away from, I don't know, an item, and the item will just
Right.
disappear. It'll make it seem like it's still right in front of you, and disappear
Right.
because your room's so large.
Right.
I don't know if that could be worked on. I'm assuming it's a performance issue,
It's
so I'm not
it's
sure if that performance issue can be fixed.
it's definitely not a performance issue, but it's a way of reducing lag.
Yeah,
But I've always felt like that should be an option. Do you know what I mean? Like, there should be an option in the settings that says,
some kind of
okay, like,
scale
right, some kind of scale,
or
so that you can
level.
increase that to 10 tiles or 12 tiles or 15 tiles if you want to, if you feel like your machine can support it. But if you need to lower the graphics, that could be one option to increase performance.
It makes sense. I mean, they have that already for trees, and they have that for grass, I believe, or
Hmm.
details in the grass. I don't know.
the level of
I can't
details.
remember.
Yeah.
Do they have it for grass? Maybe I'm thinking of a different game.
But even if they got rid of that limit, I still feel like large rooms are extremely hard to decorate properly to make feel like it's an actual room, unless it's like a specific type of room. Like if you have like a church cathedral, for example,
He's
by all means, you
thinking
could have
about his church from Linton.
right. Like you could have a large room for that, or if you have like a really well designed throne room or whatever, like there's like a specific reason to have a large room. But if you're thinking of building
just
a castle,
imagine us being able to recreate a throne room from like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones or something like that.
right?
If we had that customizability, that ability to recreate that sort of thing by giving us the assets that we would need to do that,
Mhm.
I think that's where I'd want this game to be. That's where I want this game to be going towards. I mean, like, okay,
Right.
what is missing? What do we not have now that would stop us from doing that? From creating like that big room from the Mines of Moria or something.
Right. Like look at Catspur or Milena, who's building that Ultima Online recreation. That just goes to show that this game is so versatile in being able to create whatever you want.
Yeah.
And watching some of her videos, like you can see, like she struggles with some of the limitations that Wurm has.
And she's doing that in Wurm Unlimited, so she can actually overcome some of the limitations that Wurm has.
Right, she does overcome some of them by creating new textures and stuff. Which
is
okay. Back
great.
to my original. Yeah. Totally
yes.
Back to my
Let's go
original
back to
point. My original point was smaller or medium-sized rooms are ideal. You want lots of small or medium rooms because they're for example, like a bedroom. I've made lots of different bedrooms, for example, that were too large. I've always felt that the ones I made were too large, and I've sort of settled on the fact that you can make a bedroom out of even as small as a 2x1 room or a 2x2. I think even a 2x2 is like still pretty big, but
unless you're making the king's room. Huh?
Right. Like there are like reasons to build larger rooms, and of course you want. But I mean,
smaller rooms make the castle seem bigger.
Right. That's the.
I mean, look at this. Look at this place. It's probably almost as big as you could make a building, but when you're sitting here, it doesn't look that big.
Right.
Because it's just
and
one big room.
Imagine if you had one room that was like 5x5. That would take up the majority of the whole space.
And with everything that Adam's saying, what I'm gonna do is create one big room.
I know. This one is a special one, and again, it falls under that comment that I made about like if you have a specific reason for making a massive room, then by all means go do that. Like for example, this one is a recreation of that final scene in the Labyrinth where there's this massive castle and stairs leading everywhere. So you have that all laid out, like exactly how it's going to look, and it's going to feel just like that scene. But if you don't, if you're like thinking, I'm going to make like the king's castle, it's going to have hallways, it's going to have the servants' quarters and the whatever kitchen and whatever dining hall. Don't make the rooms too large. Go for smaller rather than larger. It will end up making the castle look much nicer.
And you know what? We did that in Autumn Twilight, and I love the way that it turned out.
Mm-hmm.
And we sort of did that out of necessity because all of the buildings, we had 7 buildings, and all of them could not be connected with any other ones.
Right.
So, and each building had its own puzzle. So we had to sort of make it feel like a big castle, even though it wasn't. We had to make 7 buildings feel like one without being able to connect them whatsoever.
Right.
And I feel that by making the room smaller, it accomplished that.
Mm-hmm.
It accomplished making it feel like a big, big castle.
And at the same time, you did have rooms that were quite large. But
there
again,
were some.
They all had some specific reason for being that large.
Yes. And that was just puzzle related.
Puzzle related, exactly.
Yeah.
But when it came down to like, let's make the dining hall.
But let's say it this way: the places in the castle that we used to live in, like on a daily basis, were small rooms.
Right.
Right? We had hallways, rooms. The hallways made it feel like a castle because in a regular Wurm house, you never have hallways. Like very seldomly do you have enough hallways to make it feel like a big castle, because a hallway takes up a lot of space. Right? It's like an entire tile of things. So the houses aren't usually big enough to accommodate that. So when we built the castle in Autumn Twilight, it was the first house that we ever made that just had lots of hallways throughout the whole thing, with small rooms attached to the hallways, and that I think alone made it feel more like a castle than any building we had ever made before that.
Right, totally. Anyway, what other advice do you think we should give about making castles, like in terms of the design of the castle?
So designing the castle, you'll want to figure out, like, okay, when I designed a castle, I designed them more like manors, or like big giant mansion sort of things. But not like medieval castles. Like a lot of people, when they think castles, they think medieval. Like they've got to have the big vaulted ceilings that lead to, like, I don't know, what are those, like bridges, and the top is all parapets all the way across, like very structured like that, which it needs to have like a bridge in the front and like a gate. We don't have quite as large of a gate as but you can do that sort of thing.
You're more thinking of like the Wayne Manor or something like that.
That's right, stuff like that. Like big buildings, and you can see that style in Autumn Twilight, and you will be able to see that style here in Puzzle Labyrinth. I don't know why. I feel like I do that because even though, when designing a puzzle, you need as much space inside of the building as possible, and medieval style buildings eliminate a lot of the space very quickly. So I could either make the outside look very nice but the inside very limited, or I could create like if I try to create a medieval style castle while utilizing all the space, it would end up being a giant square.
Right.
Like it would just be like a giant box, and be like, oh, that looks really stupid. So
do you see yourself ever making a castle for the sake of making a castle without considering labyrinths or puzzles or mazes?
Okay, so here's the deal with that. What are castles mostly used for? Like, or in the sense, like why do people make castles to begin with?
To exert their dominance over other people. I don't know.
It's not like, do you ever see like one person making a castle?
No. It's for like a kingdom.
No, it's for a kingdom. So
yeah.
It works in, let's see, the like PvP areas of this game, but on Freedom we have no reason to build a castle other than saying, I want to build a castle.
Right. So there's no practical purpose for it.
There's no practical purpose, and that's why not many people do it. People do it. Like I know you do. I've seen pictures of you guys doing it. But then once you finish, it's just like, okay, now it's done. So, like, what do I do? Let's do some other crazy thing.
Like, that's what we felt about the Autumn Twilight Castle, is that we built it, and then when we were doing our day-to-day stuff, we only used like maybe 5% of that space for actual stuff.
You don't need to use it, right? There's no reason to use it. I feel like I'm almost out of marble. Do you have marble bricks?
I do.
All right, good.
Because I'm not. Did you grab the rest of them?
I found another 100.
Okay.
The rest were shards.
I mean to say in the bulk storage bin.
Oh, we have a bulk storage bin of them?
Yeah.
That I did not know.
Oh, okay. So they're in the bulk storage bin that's in front of that area there.
Inside of the other building where our building
Yeah,
materials
there's a
are.
good another
Cool.
1,500.
Because I think I'm out. So
Okay.
let me go get that. And what was I saying? I was saying, okay, so there's no reason. So what I would say is they there's all of these ideas that I had where you could give players a reason through features of the game that would allow them to build like a big castle for an alliance, let's say.
Hmm.
How about like an area that's for the alliance? Some feature that's like this is for the alliance. The alliance has the ability to help build this castle out, and it'll give them some sort of features or gameplay that you could only do in that building or on that specific alliance deed that would make people want to play there, make people
I see.
want to visit there and do stuff there. When I used to play Vanguard, Saga of Heroes, they had different deeds that you could purchase. I can't remember what they were called. So you're allowed to own land, but the way there is that they would have like a stick on the like a sign, and they would have different areas with those signs. You could purchase those the land that the sign would say. It's like this area gives you a medium size area, and this area gives like a large, area. It wasn't even an area. It was like a house. You could build this size of a house and that size of a house.
Right.
And then some of them were like you could build a guild hall
guild-
house, like
I remember
a
that.
giant castle house. And so people did build a guild house because
Yeah, and I remember
there
there
were
was
reasons for it. Yeah,
There's benefits to it.
there are lots of benefits, and that's not the only game. Like EverQuest 2 did the same thing. You could build a big guild style house, and then you could earn points or earn experience that allows you to extend the feature set of that house for your alliance or your guild. So it was just, I think if Wurm ever got features like that, then there would be so many more houses near there.
Right. There'd be more reason to.
There would be so
do
many more
this construction.
castles. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the end of the construction of the house is not the end of the house. It's not the end of the
Right.
castle, I should say. It's like the end goal is not the completion of the castle. The end goal, that should be like one of the goals. It's like we should build this castle because we want this and this feature, and then we're able to like go towards that feature of the castle that'll give us this ability to do whatever.
That'd be cool.
And I think if I don't know, one of the devs or players would be able to flesh out that idea to fit into our game of Wurm that we love, it would give us some place to go. And this could be extended to even just houses or villages. Like you buy a deed, you put the deed down, you build your first house, and then there should be like extensions or features that you could add to your house over time that would give you benefits of something or another. And I put down like some basic ideas, like you should have the ability to eventually put specific like crafting stations down that you couldn't build before, or like harvesting stations down that would give some sort of small benefit to, then like for example, I can sit outside and I can take a log and I can make like lots of planks. But how if I take those logs and I put them in this like station that would maybe allow me some better benefit than me standing there and doing it?
And you're only allowed to have that station if you can have this.
If
type
you
of
had
castle
this type of
you-
house or something, like whatever, and you had the certain level attached to it, like that allows you to do this sort of thing.
This idea. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it would be more complicated than just like build it and then you can do it, right?
Right.
It would be based on your level. Like you need to have this specific level and whatever that
Right.
allows you to build it and allow you to use it and allow you to get the benefits from it, because you spent the time to build your house and you spent the time to have a deed and you did that. What is next, right? We always say, okay,
Right.
you built your house. Everybody that joins this game says, what is next? I
Right.
made my house. And then people are like,
Right. And
the answer cannot be anything. Anything's next. You can do whatever you want, because that's like, it's not an answer.
right.
Like I built this house. What can I do with the house? Well, you can furnish your house. It's like, okay, what's the reasons for furnishing your house? It looks pretty.
Right.
Like that's the answer, because
So
like,
like it adds some progression to the game, which is what you're trying to say. I
it
think like
does.
the progression is a big thing, and that ties into something that I've been thinking about as a possible topic of conversation that we might have, and maybe we'll have that conversation at some point or another. But I might as well bring it up now, and that's alternative advancement. Remember back in the beginning of our show, we talked about alternative advancement, and that we felt like this entire game, like the entire game, was alternative advancement. Like that once you're done one thing, you can decide to do another thing and level up in that, and then decide to do another thing and level up in that, and there's like all this extra, all these like paths. But then there does come a point where you've gone down all of the avenues that you have sort of like wanted to go down and progressed as far as you wanted to go in that progression, and then you've run out of all the things, like you've run out of things to do. So I was thinking like this sort of thing that you're talking about with the guild and the building
I
that
think
could act as like an alternative advancement thing.
yes, and I think when you say alternative advancement or alternate advancement, it sounds very technical, or it sounds like
Okay.
it's like the way a developer would look at it,
Okay.
right? But it's not the way that we would think about it in the game, right?
Maybe.
As players, I would say, okay,
Unless you played like EQ, like EverQuest back
yeah,
in the day.
if you're playing those
like,
games,
you knew
with
that.
Worm's not like that. So
Right.
Worm's not the way. You can't think of it like that. You have to think of it like, even though Worm is not like real life, you say, well, in real life, after you finish your house, like back in the medieval days or whatever, like what would you use it for? What would you do? What are items that we don't have in the game that we could create in Worm, that we could allow us more functionality of the house? Like, if the house is to live in, then the house is to, like, you have permissions attached to it, and you can sleep in your house and you can sit down in your house.
Right.
And is that it? Like, can we were there
we add
other things that people use their houses for?
Right.
And then that's what you would add, and you would say, okay, are there houses that can bring people together, like alliance houses? And what would those alliance people use it for?
Mm-hmm.
And you lay out a bunch of skills or that would be needed to make all these things, and you would wormify it up, I guess.
Right.
And then you would come out with, in the end, what feels like an alternate advancement, which is essentially just saying, okay, first we do this, then we do that, and then you can then extend the house. So first you make a deed, then you make a house, and now you can do all this other stuff because you made a house. I mean, you can almost think of it like a, if you want to go in game technical terms, like an advancement tree.
Okay.
Right? That whole branch cannot be opened up until a house is made. So
Right.
step one, house. And now that you have a house, here's all these other things that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them right now is build a bed, so now you can sleep in it.
Right.
And build a chair, and now you can sit in it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, what else is there? Like build.
Well, I was thinking like, oh, again, this was like completely off topic when I was thinking about alternate advancement system, but like something that goes beyond what we're capable of now in terms of crafting and things like that. Like, for example, if they added a whole other system where tools could have another layer of advancement on them other than just quality and enchants. and they have been adding like things like ruins and stuff like that. But the difference is that there is no advancement with ruins. There's you get them and that's the end, and you
That's
use
right.
them like they're items. There's no like skill advancement. So like if you add another layer, like let's say you get to a certain skill level in a certain skill, and then that unlocks the ability to access this whole other system of improving. I don't know. That's just my play. Like totally off topic for what we're talking about now, but maybe for another day we could talk about that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There's so much to say about that sort of thing, and so
Yeah.
many directions that you can go with that thing. I mean, even alternate advancement. When we talked about like enhancing items back in
Right.
the day when we couldn't, and now we kind of can.
Yeah.
Like they implemented a system in a different way that was combined with another thing I guess they wanted to implement, which were like an encounter system,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which we
Anyway,
did
we should
talk
go
about in
back
a different
to
way. But building a
what we were talking
castle,
about. Yeah, building a castle.
you can sort of see here. I assume that this is how everybody would create big buildings, but
Mhm.
we're
Well,
not
there is
worrying about the floors, right? Notice that we're not worrying about any of the floors at all. We're just building ladders everywhere,
right,
openings, and
right,
there's a
right,
couple of
right.
reasons for that. The first reason is openings take half as many materials as a regular floor. First off,
Hmm.
second is because later we're going to destroy all of these and put our real floors, and essentially we then just worry about the floors at the very very end.
Right. So
And
and I this goes to like the next stage. But anyway, like we usually build it up like this with all the ladders, and then once we're done the whole thing, the roof and everything, then we start from the top and we start breaking the floors and replacing them as we go, like
that's right.
top to bottom.
Top down for floors, bottom up for walls now.
Walls, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there was one other thing about the design that I think that should be considered before like actually finishing and starting the construction, and that's if you want any access into the caves, right? Like tunnels underneath. For example, your house on Factional Fight Village, right on the bottom floor, right in the basement of the house, there's a door that leads right to a cave entrance. Like the cave is right attached up to the floor of the bottom floor of the house. So you walk out and you're right into a cave.
And that took a lot of planning. Oh
Took a
wow.
lot of planning, right? But we had to know that that's what we wanted beforehand. So when you're designing your castle, you got to think, okay, do I want to have an access into the caves? And if you do, then that has to go into like how you plan the entire thing.
That's
And
right.
adds an extra, especially now with the underground building
I mean,
stuff. Like,
so it's just an idea. So we planned it out, and it was perfect. If you want it to be attached, then that means that the base of the mine entrance has to be flat because
right,
part of that's going to be attached to the castle, and so we went down. We changed all of that, which means that we had, in our case, it was more extreme because we had to dig down like 100 or something, maybe 200 dirt,
hmm
because my house was inside of a giant hole. So if we wanted to
right,
change the level of that stuff, we needed to dig all the tiles around it down and then like put all that dirt back, like do the changes that we
right,
wanted with the rock and then put all the dirt back. And you know what, we had to do that because we found that, I believe what happened was that the wall or the rock was facing the wrong way. It was sloping the wrong direction,
right.
so that the tile would open the wrong
Facing
way,
the wrong way,
facing the wrong
right.
way. So we had to dig down a lot of what we didn't
Of
really
dirt,
need,
right.
dirt around what we didn't really need dug down, hundreds of dirt, just to put concrete to raise it up
Yeah.
so that it would just face the right direction.
And for those sorts of things, we want the cave entrance to be like nice and neat, so there's no slanty top or bottom. Well, the bottom is automatically flattened, but you don't want the top to be, slanted.
That's right.
So we did a lot of work to make sure that it was going to go nice and flat.
Because Adam is a perfectionist.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah.
aside from that, like you should also be using all the new stuff. Like there's
But you know what?
tons of new stuff to use in your design.
You know what? It never really occurred to me that I would want something like that, like a mine right next to a castle, until they incorporated the underground dwelling.
Right.
Because once they did that, you're like, okay, now my castle can have a dungeon.
Right.
Like, we could make it feel like we never leave the castle and we can go straight into a dungeon. And that idea, I think that's when underground dwellings were coming, was when I was building that house.
Yeah.
That's sort of where it came from.
Right. Right. But see, that all had to happen in the design phase. Like you had to have thought, okay, I want this to happen.
That's right.
Sure. Okay, so on to the next phase of building a castle.
Which, what is it now? If you can
Okay,
remember.
so you now have the design. You've planned it all out in D Planner. You have everything like laid out, what it's exactly going to look like. The next phase is gathering the materials.
Yes.
So here's my question to you. Should I tally up all the materials that I'm going to need for the entire plan and then gather all those up before I do anything next?
You know what? I think a lot of people do this differently than I don't know if they do it differently than what we do, but I think a lot of people have their own way of doing this. There are people that feel safer now that items do not decay in BSBs and stuff on Deed. They can gather all the materials that they need and feel safe in knowing that those materials will not decay.
Right. That does make a big difference.
But for people like us that or from the time of before that, we need to use those materials within the month or else we'll face a 5% penalty.
Right.
So I think that's why we came into the habit of taking just enough for us to use before the month runs out.
Right.
So we would like, okay, let's just gather 500 of these bricks and mortar or whatever, and then we'll put them in the base of the and then we'll gather more.
Yeah.
And then we'll just keep going and I guess because there's two of us, we're able to split that role. Mm-hmm. Let's say one person's making the mats and the other person's putting the mats in the actual the castle.
Right.
But
now, even with the no decay on materials, I still feel like there should, like, gathering all the mats first is a daunting task, especially if you're going to make a castle, which is going to be huge, tons of mats. It could be like 10,000 bricks, 10,000 mortar, 10,000 this, that, the other thing. You're going to need small nails and planks and everything. I really feel like doing it piecemeal makes it a little bit more manageable.
That's true. And you can sort of see the progress, so you don't have to wait months to see progress, especially if the castle's like really large and you're like, well, I need just to give you guys an idea, I can't even remember how many mats we needed for Autumn Twilight, but I think we said it in a video, and it was like 90,000 something.
Right.
Like
the castle
bricks.
alone was like that. 90,000 bricks and mortar.
So it's like, do you want to create 90,000 bricks and mortar before you create the castle? I think you'll never make it to the castle.
Right.
you never make it to the castle, and you'll just be like, oh, I've got all these mats and now I'm burnt out and I haven't created anything. So it makes more sense to do it a little bit at a time, show your progress, see your progress, have clear goals on, you could even use an incomplete house or an incomplete castle, like the bottom levels of it at least, and make use of that area before the rest of the castle is complete. Like,
Hmm.
don't wait and live in your like temporary house forever
Right.
and never actually
No,
make it into your castle.
right. I remember that's what we did with the Autumn Twilight. We the first segments that we made were the ones that we would be living in, the ones that we would be using as our workstations and things. And then
That's
that
right.
allowed us to like move all our stuff in and have that stuff, that sort of like job to do of designing our own little spaces while the construction of the castle was going on. 'Cause that castle is a long-term project for sure.
Yeah, it was.
Another question is, how do you organize the materials that you're going to be using? Because there's going to be a lot of materials and a lot of like, you know, a lot of adjustments to how, like, what materials you're going to be having on hand. So how is that all organized?
Well, I mean, from the bonus video, I'm a large crate man, so
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
I'm putting them all in large crates. I need them to be mobile as quick as possible, and
Right.
that's what I do. I put them into large crates, especially building mats. I think mostly all of them can go in large crates, except for like a few things that you don't really need in large crates, like planks, uh,
Nails,
nails, ribbons, all the metal stuff. We usually have one bulk storage bin that's just
metal
metal
stuff.
stuff. Like here's
Yeah.
fence bars and ribbons and all the different nails and like all that stuff that you need just in one. And I think we have it somewhere, just called like metal
Metal, metal
mats,
bits.
metal
Yeah.
bits. I think we've always had that.
Yeah,
But
we've always had that, and we've also always had a miscellaneous BSB that just has random, everything
right.
random, animal fat and like whatever, like random things that we're gonna need because like the animal fat would be turned into candles and like the whatever.
That's right. So
It's
that's mostly everything
furs for
else
beds.
large crate. And even if you could fit more into a BSB, like bricks and stuff, large crates are just the most mobile thing that you can have that I'm going to need to pick up a lot of this stuff at a time. And even before we had wagons, when I was doing Autumn Twilight, I would pick up, let's say, were you allowed to have three large crates? Three large crates and like a few
Right,
rafts, right? So I would
right.
put three large crates, and then each large crate would give me 300 stone, let's say stone bricks at the time. And I was able to map out exactly how much mortar I would need for 900 bricks.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that would be one round. So I'd be like, okay, I've got 900 bricks, I've got 900 mortar, exactly in the rafts. I, I go out to where I need to build like the castle, and I would just put it all in the walls. And
Hmm.
that was like one round for me. I'm like, okay,
Wonder, yeah, I
that's a good
remember
day. It was a good day. Got like 900, and then maybe like if I had more time, I'd go and do a second round, like get
that. Right.
900 more, and then just do round number two for the day.
So is just I'm looking at the plans right now. Is that wall supposed to be slate? There's like a one slate.
Yes,
Okay. That's so that people go, hey, look, there's the door. It's a different color, and I'm going to go through that door.
I cannot say yet, but yes, there is a slate door.
All right.
Okay, other than that, I believe so. Now that we've done layer two,
Yeah.
we're on the third. How many? Let's just see how many there are here. I don't even know. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it only goes 6 high, and the 5 and 6 become a lot smaller. But 4, I
Okay.
think it goes up to 4 without losing any
Okay. Without
of
losing
the
any
walls
tiles.
and putting roofs or anything. Yeah.
Okay. So
Let me
there's
just
just a
double check.
couple. There's a couple here. There's like 2 tiles that is going to be removed right here where you're standing.
That's
Right.
correct. That is
This.
correct. That is correct. So yeah, I mean, as far as the walls go, before we even build the inside, I can't see it being too much of a problem as long as we have the mats to
Right.
build up this place Is that my cart?
Your cart is, yeah.
All right.
There's that trick to get the cart up.
Yeah. I don't know
Official?
if it's official, but it's the only way to do it.
Unless you have a bridge.
Unless you have a bridge onto every level that you possibly would need coming up here. Which I don't think that's even possible. Unless there's temporary bridges or temporary lifts. This is really the only way that we know of. Which causes problems. One little tip that I found building all these castles is if you build floors on the bottom level,
Yeah.
you cannot bring the cart back down or the wagon back down to the bottom level. It'll always stay in the level above that.
Wait, say that again. If you
build floors on the bottom level,
yeah,
you cannot bring the wagon or cart back down to that level. So finish up everything else, then do the floors last.
I guess you learned that the hard way.
I did a few times.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's see what the difference.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of different styles.
Looks like there's a couple extra things going on this floor.
Yes, I'm going to trust you because you said you had the plans up.
I have the plans up.
I'm going to trust that you are good to go.
Following the plans.
And then we'll clean up the mess later.
I'll start right over here where I know there's like a big row of walls.
Make sure that there's not narrow windows. Because I think one of them has narrow windows on them.
Okay.
Anyway, so back to creating a castle.
Right.
Where exactly are we in this phases that you've planned out?
So we got the material phase down, I think. I mean, like, you obviously have the option of buying those materials as well, which, like, we've been making a lot of the materials here. We bought some already, and I think we've gotten to the point where we're settling on buying what's remaining.
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah.
So we made a lot, but I mean, it's gotten to the point where we would rather be building than creating. And you know, at some point, especially with a big castle, you get to that point in your like creation,
Right.
where you're like, okay, I could either spend the next 5 hours creating materials, or I could try to invest some money and try to do a bit faster. And that time usually comes closer to the end of the projects, I'm finding. And
yeah, you want to get it done.
Yeah, I think either way works. I mean, the benefit of doing it through the economy is that you're spurring the economy up. You're doing what Wurm's there to do. Like, part of the communication between you and other players is this whole economy that we've built as players. And I don't know, that's why both ways work. Like, you could be the hermit and you could do it by yourself, build a big castle by yourself, or you could try to spur some kind of community engagement, even if it as little as it is, like asking like to purchase some materials from people.
Right. And we're lucky because Patreon has allowed us to make that decision easier. So part of the money that we're going to be making off of Patreon is going to go towards our projects and going towards the Wurm economy and going towards buying silver from the cash shop so that we can fund these projects that we're doing, which I think is a win-win-win all around, because you guys get to get these awesome projects built on these videos, and you know, it speeds up the process for us. It puts money into the economy, and it gives money to Wurm through the cash shop.
Yeah, so that's great. So that's where we are anyway, personally, in the Labyrinth. We basically created as many materials as we could, and we got to the point where we said, okay, this is how many materials we need. So we went out, we got those many materials that we thought we needed, and then we realized we needed more. So when we got to that point with a particular material, then we had the option of either creating more or purchasing more. Some we did create, and then some we're going to purchase. So,
Right.
yeah, take that for what it is. You'll know in your mind when you're ready to get somebody else to do the materials for you.
Right. Right.
Because there's enough to do in this game, no matter what. So, choose your battles.
So then the last phase is the actual construction phase, and this is the most fun, I think.
I always love this phase.
Yeah. So what things do you need to consider when you're starting out that construction phase?
Okay, one, that you've actually done the design work properly, and you've built it up in the sense you're going to plan the building first, right? You have enough skill, you hope, and
Right.
if you don't, then now you've got to make some tough decisions. Do you get the skill? Is it even possible to get the skill? Like, it wasn't possible for me, so reduce the size of the castle, cut it in half like I had to, and do what you got to do. Then, like, how do you start it up?
I remember back in
the
Autumn
plans.
Twilight. Sorry,
Yeah.
back in Autumn Twilight, you designed it to be a certain height, and then you found out that you cannot actually build the whatever story it was because of your skill. And I remember you ended up grinding out those last few levels. Like, I think it was you needed 96 carpentry or something like that. Something crazy like that. And you were only at like 92, and you're like, I'll just grind out the last 4 levels of carpentry that I need.
When I had more time. Yeah. And now we don't have to worry about that, so
Right.
benefit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a choice, right? Do what you got to do. You can always try to get other people to try to plan those levels. I can't remember. I guess you also have to have. Do you have to have the skill to put items into the walls and stuff? Do you need the skill?
So
I can't remember now.
you need the skill to
Plan it, I would assume. Yes.
Okay, so the plan of the base, like the first floor, planning the first floor, you need that skill.
You need the carpentry skill.
And anybody can put things on the first floor, but I think in order to put on the second floor, you need to have a certain, like, whatever carpentry
have a
required.
skill, right?
Yeah, whatever like skills required to build a second
I'm running
floor
into that
of a
problem right
house.
now. So to build a floor at a specific level, you need the pavement skill.
Right. At a certain level too, right?
I don't know. Is that the same as walls?
I think it's the same as walls. Yeah.
You need the specific, I guess, masonry or carpentry skill or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, guess you got to get the skill. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're running into that problem with thatching. I'm at 24 thatching because I've never had to build thatch roofs before, and now I'm running into the problem. Well, I've got 24. I need 30. The only way I know of is to make thatch.
Make thatch, yeah.
Which is kind of grueling.
Yep.
But I think I'm just gonna have to do this. I've got sleep bonus, enough sleep bonus around to try to get it going. I'm going to need I don't know how many hours to get up to 30. I'm hoping it's not that many. And all because I made a design that has 3 thatched roofs.
Right.
So there's three tiles I need to create, and we'll do it. We'll get it done. Hopefully before this labyrinth is done. I don't know. Maybe it'll be the last thing I do. I don't know.
Right.
But anyway, so yeah, we're at the point. We have the materials. You'll notice, like, what we're doing even in this video is I guess there's always mortar. And there's marble brick or some kind of brick or something if you're doing the rock style of building. When you do something like this, we always tend to clump the mortar into groups of 40.
Right.
And that in particular creates 2 walls, right? So, and you can see each mortar's 2 weight, so therefore it comes out to 80 weight to create 40 mortar.
Right. And
Each
I think that's
wall
just
needs 20.
I think that's based off the fact that we know we can comfortably carry 80
Yeah, if
plus
you
bricks
can't, then I would clump them to 20.
to
Like
20s. Yeah,
do
that makes sense.
what your character is comfortable at carrying. So that, and I would say that you have enough so that when you're carrying one big clump of mortar at its max weight, that you can carry a minimum of at least one full round of your queue actions of bricks. So in this case, I can queue 6. So, and I can hold 11 bricks along with the mortar. Oops.
So you'll queue up 6, and then you'll have to pick up at least one more before you queue up the next 6.
Yeah. But I have enough that I can start the second round before I go pick up the second round of bricks. I'm sure if I put down some of the junk that I have in my inventory, which I've had to do for like years, I could do like a full two rounds.
You know what? We're gonna have to have an episode where we do inventory management and we clear out your inventory, because seriously.
Maybe it's just a bonus video of us cleaning out my inventory. I don't know. Does that even sound like it's fun?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, it's not fun for me because I haven't done it in years. But
I definitely have some tips about inventory that you could probably benefit from.
I'm definitely looking forward to that episode. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, my inventory is a mess. Even these groups you made in my inventory, I didn't make them.
Right.
Tools, imping, building.
Well, see, my inventory looks like this. There's 3 groups, and everything's in one of those groups. So, like, I collapse everything down, and it's just 3 items, and I can... Yeah.
And my inventory does not look like that. Oh man. Okay, so yeah, so that's how we create the houses. That's how we group the items in general. I worked out the math at one point where I was like, if I had the 3 crates and the 900, then this is how many mortar I would need of clumps of 40 mortars.
Right.
I would need this many. It was like 15 would give me like so much. I can't remember now. You're the math person.
The ratio between clumps of mortar versus bricks.
Yeah, and I knew that. You don't need to know that as long as you have enough. Like,
I think you
out.
you get to know those sorts of things as you are.
That's right. You get to know those things. Wow, it's really starting to rain here. So I don't know if hopefully that doesn't come out in the microphone.
That's okay.
Anyway, so that's how I group the items. With planks, it's not such a big deal if you're making like a wooden house or something, because you can carry around lots of planks. You can hold a lot of planks and nails and stuff.
Right.
So it's only with the heavy stuff that I find you really have to be sort of prepared and organized in some kind of way. You don't want to make so many more mortar or have so much more mortar than you have bricks. Like, I mean, it depends, right?
I made the wrong wall
here. I'm sorry. I'm a little sick, that's why I've been coughing a bit, but
yeah.
Oh, that makes me laugh so much.
We
all knew it was coming. We all knew it was coming.
Yep.
I might need to just go on to the next wall.
Go on to the next one. You might need to bash that.
You're gonna have to tell me like which one.
It's the right.
Why don't I just do it now? Because I'm not. This is such a big place. I'm gonna forget. Oh yeah, there you go. You switched once, and then you
switched
forgot
once,
to switch
and then
back.
Exactly. That's all it takes is switching once.
All right, so I will get rid of this for you.
Yeah.
Wall. Oh,
I'm surprised. I grabbed a ton of mortar, and we've already gone through it all.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so is there anything else that we have to talk about? You construct it. We talked about the fact that we would create the walls first. None of the floors, other than openings. And there's We talked about the reasonings. A couple reasonings is one, it's the only way to make vaulted ceilings.
Right. Vaulted ceilings are something I know. I realized that I was talking to somebody, and they didn't even know how to make vaulted ceilings, and they had been playing for like some months. So it was, like I was describing them how to make vaulted ceilings. It's not that hard to make, but
It's
we
not
didn't know
something
that.
right? It's not something that
Right.
like, how did we find out that you could do something like that? I feel like we just experimented because we were
Right.
part of the group that came into the game before multi-story. So when they introduced it, like, here's multi-story, everyone, we kind of just went crazy with like, well, can we do this? Can we do that? Like, how do we do this? And we just figured it out, and then it uncovered like a bunch of problems with the system, like being able to create floating buildings and stuff. And then they clamped it down with code, and now the system's sort of in place, and like, okay, well, the only way to make vaulted ceilings, high ceilings, is to create these openings and then destroy the openings from top to bottom.
Right.
And that's just sort of what became standard.
Right. And I think that like there are kind of like creative things you can do with vaulted ceilings. Like, for example, you can create what you would imagine a loft sort of environment to be, where you have one section that's a vaulted ceiling, but then within that big vaulted ceiling area, you have like another platform on the second or third level where you might have a staircase that goes up to it.
Yeah, which you saw in the pottery building at the beginning of
Right,
this episode.
right. Yeah, that was a kind of a small version of it, but I'm thinking, on a more grand scale. Like,
yeah, in
castles,
one thing that this is like a big deal, right?
Right. Like we had in the Autumn Twilight Castle, like where my workstation was, a balcony on the side that was like a bar, right? And you can kind of get up to that bar through some staircase or whatever, and you can look down on the workstation. But then that bar led to another area on that floor. It was the third floor, if I remember, and that was part of that was sort of like the entrance into that puzzle area.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
so, yeah,
I've seen a lot of really cool designs with vaulted ceilings.
Mm-hmm.
And people, because of the way that it's implemented, people have been able to get really creative with it. So I feel like it's all about experimenting with what you can do, what you're not allowed to do. Maybe you end up breaking something like every now and then. For example, when I built Autumn Twilight, I had a puzzle where you would have to fall from the top of a building or top of one floor down to another part of another floor while jumping over a fence.
Right, I remember that.
And the problem is if you don't make it and you end up landing on the fence, the game did not like that. And you ended up falling like into the fence somehow, and then you kept bugging in and out of like the game. I don't know.
Right.
You kept like trying to reload, and it kept like asking the server for like position updates or something, and it would be clogging the server up a little bit.
Right.
And that's what was told to me anyway. that was happening. And I feel like maybe they should have just put like a way to stand on the fence, and then you could just fall off one way or the other. Which they did for tall stone fences. I don't know if they did it for the other ones.
Yeah, I don't know.
But you can stand on top of fence, on top of the stone tall. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some areas
stone
in the
wall, I should say.
Yeah, there's areas in the labyrinth, this labyrinth, that you can do that.
Yeah. Not saying that you should.
I'm not sure you should. Yeah, I don't think it was designed that way, but.
But I don't know. Go crazy when you're in the labyrinth.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what were we even talking about?
Building a castle.
Building a castle. And that's what we're doing. So I think, I don't know, that pretty much covers the phase of building, right? Is that what we're doing? Like the construction
Pretty much,
phase?
yeah, the actual construction. I mean, you're seeing exactly how we're doing it.
you can see we're using wagons. Like back in the day about in Twilight, I was saying I would bring 900, bricks and 900 mortar in a large cart, which is still possible, and I'd still wouldn't mind doing it. Like it's still a good chunk.
Right.
Like I haven't even used that much yet in this video.
Uh-huh.
But our system here is completely designed around wagons. I think the benefit of a wagon is that then you can hold so much more of other types of materials that you may not really need a lot of. So you need like, oh, all of a sudden I need like these shingles for something, for some other reason, to build a
fence
here.
bars,
or a fence bar, or so you'll find that my wagon, which is very similar to my inventory, by the way, is essentially just a mess of random crap stored in all of these large crates, just in case I might need it sometime, like iron ribbons. Like I'll just be building for like a week and not need an iron ribbon, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I need to make this fence, or I need to make some item, this bridge, and then it'll be like, oh, I need an iron ribbon, and then Adam will be like, oh, okay, let me get some, and then he'll like go out because he's so organized. He doesn't have iron ribbons just lying around everywhere. He's like, I know where they are. I put iron ribbons in our miscellaneous, our metal bits bin, and he'll like go get them and be like, oh, I've got some in my wagon already. And I was just like, he'll come back and be like, oh, you finished already? Oh. And then he'll go and put back the iron ribbons into the bulk storage bin.
That's the way I roll.
And that's one big benefit of a wagon. The non-benefit is the fact that I really have no idea what's in my wagon. I should really look at it.
Right.
And I'm more surprised than I am organized.
Right.
Like,
I do have ribbons.
Yeah. Do I have fence bars? I don't know. Apparently I used all my fence bars. But if I ever needed a birchwood chair, I would say I have a birch. If I ever needed a yoke for making something,
a birchwood chair,
I have one. And for any reason that we would need an unfinished slate slab.
Right. An unfinished one.
I would be able to finish it up.
Right.
Maybe. Okay, so what else do I have here? I need my marbles. There they are. I need my marbles. Anyway, which is also true.
Well, I think we still got a long ways to go on this building.
Yeah, so we are we almost done this third level?
I think we're just kind of
we're like halfway through this third level. So let's put it this way. Let's take a look at what we've done. I mean, to summarize what we've been talking about, essentially, plan it out first. Do your homework. Plan it out in Deed Planner. There's no reason why you shouldn't be using it. It's a great program, and it's now intertwined within Wurm, so you can just go to your deed token, export your deed, and start building in Deed Planner without wasting any materials. Find out how many materials that you need. Don't build all the materials first unless you are the type of person that won't go crazy, and go ahead and start building it the way that we showed. If you guys don't do it already, this is how we do it. Openings everywhere, and that's because we can then bring our carts everywhere.
Right.
And have access to all of our stuff. And we've been in so many positions where we built floors because it didn't seem like we would need stuff in a particular area of the higher level of whatever building we're making, and it was a pain in the butt because all of a sudden we're like, okay, we need to change this wall, and so we just need 20 bricks and mortar.
Yeah.
So
And, like,
carry
getting it
20
there.
bricks and mortar up like the stairs
7
and like around.
stories.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's just was such a pain. So this is why we do it this way. And then, so remember, walls from bottom to top, but floors from top to bottom.
Hmm.
That's just how we roll. So let's take a look at the bottom here. I'm going to climb down and just see sort of how it's starting to look. Yeah. Definitely starting to look like the way it looks in Deep Planner. I think it's the first time that I'm looking at marble walls in the game.
In the game, yeah. Yeah, this is our first marble building.
Nice. That is odd. I don't know if it's the lighting. So I'm using the unstable client.
Okay.
Notice that this marble
Right,
of the
I've
door,
seen that. Actually, if you get closer,
changes?
it goes away.
There it
Yeah,
is.
there it is.
There's it.
Yeah.
There.
I think that's the level of detail of something or other, but
So maybe something that could be worked on.
yeah.
That's a little awkward.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely using the unstable client with all of these shaders on. How many tiles away am I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 or 6. I don't
I've
know.
always felt like the level of detail, like transition, could use
Needs
some
to
work.
be, yeah, the transition instead of it being instant.
Yeah. There should be like some
Always
sort of
could use a nice fade.
yeah. But also the other thing is I've noticed for a lot of textures, the level of detail when it goes down,
Mhm.
the shade or the color of the object switches. I'm not sure why that happens, but I feel like there should be more consistency in the color
Well,
of the object.
the pottery brick and the timber here, it's not so bad. I mean, you
Right, but you
definitely
can see
see
it.
that it gets darker.
Yeah, you
Here,
can see it.
things get darker.
I'm not
There's
sure why.
dark, and then
Like yeah, the pottery
dark.
is
Actually, the
a little
pottery on the
bit.
bottom
The pottery is fine.
stays the same. It's just up here that got darker.
Anyway,
Yeah, we can get work on. Anyway,
Something
so
like
that's our episode on building a castle. I hope that if you haven't built a castle before, maybe you're interested in building one now. Or you can continue, we're going to continue working on the castle. And hopefully we can get one half done soon and show it off for you guys. But until then, thanks for watching. And we'll see you guys. Hopefully I'll get rid of this sore throat. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care, everyone. Hey everyone, thanks for watching our episode where we finally get to build our big castle. We were super excited. Magically my voice came back, yay! And we just wanted to thank you all for being able to stand listening to us for so long. Adam?
yeah, we also wanted to give a big shout out to our special patrons, Revnik, Daspera, Deathwind, Ian, Koyoko, Lioness, and Valiance and Kaylee. Thank you so much for your support, and to all our patrons, we couldn't do this without you. It means the world to us that you choose to support us. And if you are interested in checking out our Patreon page, we give exclusive content, early content, lots of fun stuff there, conversation. So check it out.
Yeah, definitely. So keep on watching, we'll keep on making, and until next time, guys, keep on worming. See you later, guys.